I'll never forget the first time I used Tinder. It was the winter break of 2015. Everyone was back home from college, and since I was single with nothing better to do, I figured I'd give the app everyone was buzzing about a try. It was around 8 or 9 p.m. on a Thursday, peak activity time for the app. I downloaded it, eager to see what the hype was about. Setting up my profile took some effort. I spent about 10 minutes scrolling through my photos, carefully picking 4 that I thought would grab attention. Writing the bio was tougher. I wasn't great at the witty one-liners guys were supposed to use, so I kept it simple. I mentioned being 6 feet tall, playing hockey at Penn State, and loving the gym. After that, I started swiping right on almost everyone, curious to see how many people would swipe back. To my disappointment, I blew through the 100 likes Tinder allowed and didn't get a single match. My confidence plummeted. I thought of myself as good-looking, so how could no one like me? I debated deleting the app to save myself from further embarrassment. Just as I was about to give up, my phone buzzed. The screen lit up with the words, "Congratulations, you have a new match." Excitement surged through me. I opened the app to see the face of a stunning girl staring back. She had 4 photos, one in a bikini with a friend, one with 2 girls kissing her cheeks, another leaning against a brick wall, and one at what looked like a frat party. She was 20 like me, and attended Syracuse University. Nervously, I sent her a casual, "Hey, smiley face." To my surprise, she responded almost instantly, "Hey, cutie." Her quick reply boosted my confidence, and I tried to think of something clever to say. I ended up mentioning her sorority, claiming I had a friend in the same one at my school. It was a lame attempt, but she didn't seem to mind. Her response came quickly. "OMG, that's so cool." Before I could even finish typing my next message, she sent another. "You're so cute and so close. What are you doing tonight?" The ease of our conversation made me feel invincible. I told her I was just watching Elf. She replied, "Oh my God, no way. Me too. You should come over and watch it with me." My heart raced as I agreed. When I asked for her number, she gave it to me immediately. I didn't want to seem too eager, so I waited a minute before texting her. When I did, the message went through as a regular text, not iMessage, a small detail I didn't think much of at the time. I texted her another "hey," and she replied instantly with "hey, come now," followed by an address. It was only 5 miles away, about a 10-minute drive. I told her I was on my way. Before leaving, I informed my mom I was heading out and then drove to the address. The house was in a quiet part of town, but not the kind of quiet that feels peaceful, more like eerie silence. Across the street was a large, overgrown field that sloped into a rainwater collection pit. The houses were spaced far apart, adding to the unsettling vibe. As I pulled into the driveway, I noticed 2 cars parked there. A red flag went up in my mind, but I brushed it off. I texted her to let her know I'd arrived, and she replied, "KK, go around back." The front door is loud. Feeling uneasy, I asked, "Are your parents home or something?" But got no response. I stepped out of my car and cautiously made my way around the house. There was no fence dividing the front yard from the back, and as I passed a window, I noticed something chilling. The blinds were slightly raised and someone was peeking out. The moment I noticed, the blinds snapped shut. My gut twisted with unease. I texted her again. "Was that you at the window?" No reply. I continued slowly, trying to stay calm, but my ears picked up faint noises from the backyard, the scrape of a chair dragging across concrete. My heart pounded as I reached the corner of the house. I couldn't bring myself to turn the corner, so I peeked around it, inch by inch. The backyard seemed empty, but the unsettling noises persisted. I crept to the back door, a sliding glass door that looked ancient. Through the glass, I could partially see inside the house, but something stopped me dead in my tracks. Not a single light was on inside. The darkness felt heavy, oppressive. My instinct screamed at me to leave, but I decided to text her one last time. "I'm at the back door. Where are you?" Her reply came in seconds. "Come in." That was it for me. I wasn't about to walk into a pitch-black house. For the first time, I decided to call her number. But when I entered it, my phone screen read, "Text now, audio call." My blood ran cold. Text Now was a fake number app. Whoever I'd been texting wasn't who they claimed to be. Then I heard it, a ringtone coming from right behind the glass door. My breath hitched as I saw the faint glow of a phone screen through the glass, inches from the doorframe. Someone was standing there, hiding in the dark. I didn't run. Not yet. I backed away slowly, careful not to make noise, retracing my steps around the house. The moment I was out of sight, I bolted to my car, heart pounding in my chest. I didn't look back until I was safely inside, speeding away. When I got home, I checked my phone. 15 new messages awaited me. The first dozen were desperate. "Where'd you go? Why'd you leave? Come back." The last three, however, were pure terror. The first read, "I'm not actually a 20-year-old girl, but I'm sure you figured that out by now." The second said, "No laws were broken. LOL. Good luck." And the last message froze me in my tracks. "I know exactly what you look like, and I have your number." I blocked the number immediately. When I tried to unmatch and report the profile on Tinder, it was already gone. For days I was terrified, jumping at every unknown call or text. Thankfully, nothing ever came of it. Still, the memory haunts me, and while I've used Tinder a few times since, I'll never ever trust anyone enough to meet up again. A few months ago, I found myself scrolling through Tinder, bored and looking for some meaningless distraction. I wasn't searching for a relationship or anything serious, just a way to kill time. Most of the fun came from seeing who swiped right on me, throwing out cheesy pickup lines and maybe having a pointless chat. Every once in a while, though, there was the slim chance that someone would be down to meet up that night. That faint hope kept me swiping. But what unfolded that night was nothing like I expected. It was something far darker. The night started promising enough. Within my first 20 swipes, I got a handful of matches. I sent out a few corny one-liners to the girls who caught my eye, just for the fun of it. But then, something unusual happened. One of the matches messaged me first. Her name was Michelle, and her profile picture practically made me do a double take. She was blonde, 23 years old, and absolutely stunning, like a perfect 9 out of 10, almost too good to be real. Her opening message was simple. "Hey." Now normally I'd be the one initiating conversations, so having a girl like her reach out first was intoxicating, maybe too intoxicating. To be fair, I had already had a couple of drinks, which only made me bolder. We hit it off quickly, and it wasn't long before our conversation turned flirty. Every move I made, she matched. Every joke I cracked, she laughed at. It felt almost too easy. Before I knew it, I'd asked for her number, and to my surprise, she gave it to me without hesitation. The chat moved to texts, and I decided to push my luck, suggesting we meet up that same night. Again, I half expected her to back out or ghost me, but Michelle seemed eager. She was the one who chose the location, a small park near her house. "Let's hang out there for a bit first," she said. "Then maybe we can head back to my place." It sounded a little odd to meet at a park, but her enthusiasm and how smoothly everything was going made me ignore any doubts. She set the time for 10 p.m. I spent the next hour nervously checking the clock, counting down the minutes until it was time to leave. At 9:45, I sent her a quick text to confirm, and she replied almost immediately, "Yep, still on." That reassurance gave me a little rush of excitement as I got in my car and drove to the park. The park was tucked away in a quiet residential area, surrounded by trees and eerily isolated. When I arrived a few minutes early, I parked and walked to the spot Michelle had mentioned, the swing set near the middle of the park. It was quiet. Too quiet. I thought about texting her to let her know I was already there, but I didn't want to seem overeager, Instead, I sat down on one of the swings and decided to wait until exactly 10:02 before messaging her. I didn't want to look desperate. At 10:02, I finally sent the text, "I'm here." The minutes started ticking by. 10:05, 10:10, still no response. At first, I told myself she might be driving and couldn't check her phone, but as the silence dragged on, I started to feel a sinking sense of disappointment. Maybe she flaked, I thought. Maybe she was never serious about meeting up. The park felt unsettlingly empty. On one side, the dense woods stretched on for what seemed like miles. On the other, a few scattered trees gave way to a quiet neighborhood road. The only light came from a motion-activated lamp mounted on a small bathroom shack a short distance away. Every now and then, the wind would stir the leaves, but otherwise, the place was dead silent. I tried to distract myself by lightly swinging back and forth, the rusty chain squeaking with each movement. That's when I heard it. A soft sound came from the direction of the bathroom shack. It wasn't loud, but it was distinct, like the mechanical click of a paper towel dispenser or the faint creak of a door hinge. My heart skipped a beat. It was the kind of sound you'd expect to hear if someone was inside the bathroom. But why would anyone be in there this late? It was past 10 p.m. on a weeknight. Surely the bathrooms would be locked by now, and who would even come to a park like this at night? Before I could dwell on it, my phone buzzed in my pocket. I pulled it out and saw a new text from Michelle. "Hey, just got here. Come into the bathroom. I have a surprise for you." My stomach churned as I read the message. Something about it felt wrong. Butterflies of dread twisted in my gut, and for a moment, I just stared at the screen, unsure how to respond. Then, another text came through. "Get off the swing and come here." I froze, my grip tightening on my phone. Slowly, I lifted my gaze toward the bathroom shack. My blood turned cold. Peeking out from the entrance was a face, half of a face to be exact. It was pale with hollow staring eyes, and it was watching me. As soon as I saw it, the face disappeared, slipping back into the darkness of the bathroom. Every instinct in my body screamed at me to leave. Moving as quietly as I could, I got up from the swing and started backing away from the playground. My heart was pounding so hard I thought it might give me away. When I felt I was far enough, I turned and ran, sprinting through the dark park toward my car. Every shadow felt alive, every sound amplified by my racing mind. I was sure someone was following me, but I didn't dare look back. When I reached my car, I jumped in and locked the doors. For a moment, I just sat there trying to catch my breath. But then, movement in my rearview mirror caught my eye. Emerging from the woods was a man, tall, broad-shouldered, and running straight toward my car. Panic surged through me as I fumbled with my keys, desperately trying to start the engine. The car roared to life, and I threw it into drive, peeling out of the lot before he could get any closer. As I sped down the road, I glanced back, but the man was gone, swallowed by the darkness. When I finally made it home, I sat in my driveway for what felt like an eternity, trying to process what had just happened. I felt shaken to my core, like I'd just brushed against something truly evil. That night, I deleted my Tinder account and the app entirely. I told only my older brother about what had happened, too ashamed and disturbed to share it with anyone else. Now, months later, I have a girlfriend, and I don't even think about using dating apps anymore. But the memory of that night still haunts me. I can't stop wondering who or what was waiting for me in that bathroom. Sarah had always been skeptical about online dating. Swipe left, swipe right, it sounds ridiculous, she'd tell her friends. But after months of hearing success stories and enduring their persistent nagging, she decided to give Tinder a try. It couldn't hurt to meet new people, right? One evening, scrolling through profiles with a glass of wine in hand, Sarah came across Alex. He had the kind of smile that felt warm and inviting, with eyes that hinted at mystery. His bio was simple: lover of hiking, old horror movies, and good conversations. Intrigued, she swiped right, and to her surprise, it was an instant match. Alex was quick to message her, and their conversation was effortless. He was funny, intelligent, and seemed genuinely interested in her. They talked about everything: work, favorite movies, their love for quiet places. After a few days of chatting, Alex suggested meeting in person. "There's this diner just outside town," he wrote. "Best coffee you'll ever have. It's quiet too. Perfect for a first date." Sarah hesitated at first. The diner was a bit of a drive, and meeting someone in such an isolated spot felt risky. But Alex's charm wore down her doubts. After all, she thought he seemed so genuine. On the night of the date, Sarah drove through dark, winding roads to reach the diner. The place looked straight out of an old movie, small, with flickering neon lights spelling diner. The parking lot was nearly empty except for her car and a rusty truck parked near the back. Her nerves tingled, but she shook it off, telling herself she was just overthinking. As she stepped inside, she spotted Alex right away, seated in a booth at the far corner. He smiled and waved her over. In person, he looked just like his photos, tall, with a chiseled jawline and piercing blue eyes. "Hey, Sarah," he said, his voice smooth and welcoming. She slid into the booth and they began chatting. He was just as charming in person, but something about him felt off. He kept glancing over her shoulder, as though expecting someone. When she asked about his favorite horror movies, a topic he'd been enthusiastic about online, his answers were oddly vague, as if he'd forgotten what he'd written in his profile. Moments later, the waitress brought their coffee. Sarah noticed her hands trembled slightly as she placed the cups down. Her eyes lingered on Sarah for just a second too long, filled with something that looked like pity. Shrugging it off, Sarah sipped her coffee and tried to focus on the conversation, but the strange feeling wouldn't leave her. Then Alex said something that sent a chill down her spine. "You know," he began, leaning in closer, his eyes locked on hers, "you're even prettier in person. It's rare to meet someone who doesn't look better in their photos. That's what happened to my last date here." Sarah froze. She forced a laugh, but his words lingered in her mind. "Your last date?" she asked, trying to keep her voice steady. He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "Yeah, she wasn't really what I was expecting. Let's just say she didn't stick around." The way he said it made her stomach churn. She glanced around the diner, suddenly aware of how empty it was. The waitress had disappeared into the back, and the only sounds were the low hum of the diner lights and the faint creak of the wind outside. "I need to use the restroom," Sarah said, excusing herself. She needed a moment to think, to breathe. In the restroom, she splashed cold water on her face and stared at herself in the mirror. Was she being paranoid? Maybe Alex's sense of humor was just weird. But deep down, something felt wrong. When she stepped out of the restroom, she noticed Alex wasn't at the booth anymore. Her heart raced as she scanned the room. Then she saw it. His phone on the table, left unlocked. Curiosity and fear drove her to take a peek. What she found made her blood run cold. The screen was open to his photo gallery, filled with pictures of women. Some looked like casual selfies, but others were more sinister. Images of women in the same booth she had just been sitting in, all looking uneasy, all with the same forced smile. A sound behind her made her jump. Alex stood there, his smile gone, replaced with a cold, calculating look. "You weren't supposed to see that," he said, his voice low and menacing. Sarah's instincts kicked in. Without a second thought, she bolted for the door, her heart pounding in her chest. She could hear his footsteps behind her, fast and heavy. She reached her car, fumbling with her keys as Alex's shadow loomed closer. Just as she got the door unlocked, she felt his hand graze her shoulder. She threw herself inside, locking the door and starting the engine in one frantic motion. As she sped out of the parking lot, she saw him in the rearview mirror, standing there, his expression calm and eerily composed, as if he'd already picked his next victim. That night, Sarah deleted Tinder and vowed never to use it again. But sometimes she couldn't help but wonder how many other women had been lured to that diner, and how many never made it out.